so much for joining me. This is going to be the perfect palette tag. When I saw the questions for this, I don't know who actually came up with this to begin with, but I was like, this is genius. This is a great way, especially if you're a big palette junkie like I am, to really take a good hard look at your collection and figure out, you know, what things stand out in different ways and maybe what things you're not even using that much. And if you're a video maker or a blogger, consider yourself tagged to do this as well. I think this is a lot of fun, especially if you've got a lot of palettes in your collection. The first category is best packaging, and it probably doesn't come as much of a surprise that I think the best packaged palette is from the Balm, and it's my Balm Jovi palette. I think it's really cute and creative. Every one of their palettes is different from the next, so I just love how the packaging's really fun. There are a lot of cute names and everything. Also, I think size-wise, this is great packaging. They got a lot of different products in here without making it an enormous palette. Another little detail here, which isn't really rocket science, but a lot of brands, I think, overlook this. There are a couple of cream products in the bottom, but they've got their own flap over them here in the Balm Jovi palette. So all your powder stuff, the fallout from that, does not get into the lip and cheek products. So I just feel like this palette is full of a lot of great little details, and I think the Balm's packaging is always like #1. For best color payoff, I think I could have gone a lot of different directions with this, but I've got to give it to the LORAC Pro because this palette is so consistent. All the shades in this palette are like a team that's full of MVPs. You know, there's not one shade in here that's a dud or that doesn't have as strong of color payoff as the next shade. I mean, everything from the white or the cream down to the shimmery like gray and purple, everything is really, really pigmented. And I use this all the time, but it doesn't even look like I've really made a big dent in it because I only tap just barely into these shadows to put them on. And I know lots of people have talked about this, and I'm sure you're familiar with the concept, but it's half matte, half shimmer, and I just feel like you could get the deepest, darkest, like black, smoky eye with this, or you could use the lighter shades and still get a look that really pops and shows up, and you don't have to work hard to blend them out, so just an all-around great palette. For the most versatile palette, I was like looking at everything, thinking, oh, maybe it's this one, maybe it's this one, and a lot of palettes like, you know, about this big or something, and then I thought, no way is there anything more versatile than this. And this is the 252 Ultimate Eyeshadow Palette from Coastal Scents, and this is just jam-packed with every possible color and finish that you could want. There's 3 different trays here, for example. Neutrals, pinks, yellows. It's not just a few different shades, but it's the spectrum in absolutely every shade. This tray here just has a huge variety from yellows to greens to purples, and then you've got a lot of greens and blues and even some neutrals in here. But what's really outstanding about this palette that I don't think a lot of people realize is that every single one of these, in each of these 3 trays, each shade corresponds to a full-sized Hot Pot. So those are the size of like a MAC eyeshadow. So if you fell in love with one of these shades and you were like, man, I wish I had a bigger size of it because these are all like the size of a dime, you could look online, they've got these all mapped out, and you could find that one shade that you were after. So that's just a cool added bonus to this. But as far as, you know, a versatile palette, you could get absolutely any look under the sun with this stuff. Now, I apologize if it looks like I'm talking any differently in this video. Maybe you haven't noticed anything, but I got a root canal last week and I've still got some sensitivity on my back tooth where that happens, so I'm really babying that area and I don't want to accidentally like be talking and then like chomp down on it really hard. But best palette for travel. When I'm looking to take a palette with me, there are a few things I'm looking for. I want it to be compact in size, I want it to be durable, and also I want it to be, you know, the shades that I'm actually gonna wear. One that I love to take with me, and I feel like this is so underrated. Like, I should be talking about this more because I love this as much, if not more, than my Naked palettes, and it's the Urban Decay Smoked palette. This thing, really durable. You know, it's a very hard palette, and it zips open to where it's not something you even have to worry about a magnet, you know, coming undone or anything like that. It's got a good sized mirror. That's another great thing for travel. And then these shadows, I feel like I could get any basic look with this kit. I can get the neutral look that I want with anything up top, and then I've got a few little colors to throw in, but everything's super wearable. Love Mushroom, that's a great taupe, a great matte brown, a plum, kind of a bronzy brown down here. So all these shades are just so workable, and I just think that's an ideal palette for travel. Another one that I sometimes take with me, which is a nice multitasker because it's got the blush in here that I would use, and a nice big mirror is my Mally More Perfect palette. And I've got all of Mally's perfect palettes, and the More Perfect one is the one that I always use the most. It's got my favorite blush shades in here. I love that pink. It's got like bronzy, taupey, purple kind of shades, really dark shades if you want to turn anything into a smoky eye. You got a shadow base there, a cream highlight. I mean, it's just a lot packed into one palette. And by the way, Mally does have the little window over the cream stuff too, which is a very nice consideration, as we said. Okay, biggest regret. This was the one I thought on the longest because I kept looking at everything I had and I thought, you know, I don't really regret any of these purchases. Like, and it might sound strange because you guys know I don't love every palette I own, but yet I feel like where my channel's concerned, I've been able to pass along good information, even if it's something I don't like, or use it to compare it to something else. You know, it's had a function, it's had a purpose. But finally, the thing that I kind of ran into and thought, you know, I really didn't need this. It didn't serve much of a purpose for me. Nuance Eye Quad, so small palette, I get that. But this little guy, I mean, I don't know. It's different in its packaging style, but these are 4 shades that I definitely have a lot of already in singles within other palettes. And when you put it all together, this is not easy to store. Like, there's no place in my drawers where this really fits. I've just kind of stuck it behind a little thing there on my bookshelf. It's different, but I don't find it to be especially cute. The quality isn't awful, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, here's another thing to figure out where to put it, right? So if I had that day at CVS to do over again, I might skip this purchase. Love this category, best color names. But one that I think is just awesome, and you're gonna see me reviewing this one soon, is from Too Faced, and it's the one called A Few of My Favorite Things. This is one of the holiday palettes. This is kind of like their biggest, baddest holiday palette, and that's what it looks like on the inside. But a lot of the shades in this palette are named through the lyrics of that song. So Whiskers on Kittens, Moon on Their Wings, Blue Satin Sashes, Cream Colored Ponies. I mean, even the blushes are Melt into Spring and Raindrops on Roses. So I just love that it follows the theme of the song. Not every single thing in here does, but most of it. And I just think that's adorable. And think about it, like when I'm doing a tutorial with this and I'm like, okay, now put cream colored ponies all over your lid. Like, there's something fun about that. My least used palettes, I determined that they are these. And these are the Profusion Knockoff Naked palettes that I got from Walgreens last year around Christmas time. And I did do a whole blog post about these, kind of making comparisons and showing you how they created looks and swatches and whatever. I have both the Naked palettes, and these, while they do kind of come close in some aspects, they're just not as good, and I'm about positive I have not reached for these since my blog post on them about a year ago. So these have got to be some of the least used things in my palette area, and FYI, these are out again in Walgreens, but in different packaging. So just be aware if you see things that look like these. I do have a review on my blog. I'll link to that below because I'm pretty sure they're the exact same palettes, just in a different like pattern on the outside. Here's the one that I really had trouble narrowing it down on. It says most used, most loved, Desert Island, and I tried to keep this whole video to things that were currently available now, so if there was something that really caught your eye, you would be able to easily get it. But I do have to mention a Desert Island palette that I so wish they would come out with again is the Smashbox Photo Op Mega palette. I still have and still use this thing. It actually contains like all of the eyeshadows that are actually in Smashbox's regular line, along with a ton of other products like blushes and highlights and brow products and lip products, and the whole 9 yards is in there. It's a wonderful formula. I know they've come out with smaller versions, but this is like the Mac Daddy, so I would not want to be without this if I could only take one thing. But there are some other palettes that I do need to mention for most used. One of them is the Too Faced Natural at Night palette. I fell in love with this palette when I got it, and it's been one of those where I keep going back to it all the time. There was a long period of time where I didn't use the olive shades down there, and then fairly really recently I did, and I was like, whoa, those are gorgeous too. But they've got some really nice browns. They've got a nice mix of matte and shimmer in here, like this matte cream shade and this matte light brown. This gorgeous shade called Eclipse almost has a little bit of a burgundy tone to it. It's beautiful. So I just love the look of this palette, and I feel like those are going to be our most used palettes, or the ones that you feel like make your eyes just look the prettiest. You know, you can use as many crazy colors as you want, but what actually like brings the beauty out in your eye color? This is one of those palettes for me. Also, more recently, the LORAC Unzipped. I do have a tutorial using this, but these shades just draw me in, and they look good on my eyes. I love palettes that incorporate a little bit of burgundy, and this has that. Some gorgeous taupes, rosy type colors are just great. And I'm gonna kick myself if I don't mention the Nude Tude, because it's got the same kind of thing going on there. Great taupes, browns, really nice deep dark basics like black and brown, and then a great kind of grapey wine color. I just love it so much. So for like really important event, you've got to look your best. What are you gonna reach for? I love these, and then Desert Island packs as much into it as possible. Gotta go with the Mega palette. So I think that is it now. Yeah, that's the perfect palette tag. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you'd like to do this, feel free. It's a really fun tag, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.